Good evening. I want to talk to you today about the controversy that's going on in New York City regarding the building of this mosque. Those who are protesting the building of this mosque have the underlying problem of believing that Muslims are the enemy. This was accomplished when the, as soon as the towers were demolished, the news media, at, by their as a puppet, was fed information that this was the results of the Al Qaeda, and where they could not find these boxes, or they found them and lost them. The black boxes, supposed black boxes that made of titanium, they couldn't find these, but they found a perfect passport from one of these supposed terrorists that ran these supposed planes into this. Now, what the, what these people who are protesting against, what they are not seeing is that they were fed a line, and see, the military industrial complex needs an enemy. Let's take step back and take a look at the big picture. After the fall of the USSR, the military industrial complex no longer had a source for which they can pump all the American dollars in to make these weapons of mass destruction, and so they had to come up with a new boogeyman. That was the first question I asked after the fall of the USSR. Is I wonder who the next one will be. Excuse me. It didn't take long. It didn't take long to find out the answer. So I think what's necessary is that we try to educate these people as to, if they want to be educated, that is, because the problem is fear creates the illusion that you're seeing the full truth and the full picture. And so what happens is that people don't even realize they're being manipulated. They believe they're being patriotic. Um, they call that ground hallowed ground as if something holy took place there. Well, what really took place there is these buildings were demolished, and if you follow the money, you can kind of figure out why and how and where. Um, there's so much forensic evidence that shows that these buildings did not collapse as a result of a plane crash. They collapsed as a result of time charges that were carefully brought through. Physics tells you that a building cannot fall at free fall unless the structure underneath it is totally demolished. There would be too much resistance, and never in the history of architecture has a building ever fallen due to fire. A building that's a structured building, such as with steel or brick or anything else. This is just unrealistic. I can't believe the American public fell for that, um, because there's just too many questions. And the architects and engineers. I don't want to get into a long discourse about 9/11 conspiracy theory, but it does concern me that, again, we have an instance where the dark side is trying to separate people between um, using, of course, religion, and using this false flag event, and trying to keep people angry with each other so that you have polarized sides, those who want to build a mosque there and those who do not want the mosque built there. Again, it's just another way for us to pit um, people against people. And I don't know how to go about this, but uh, I did visit a few of those, uh, how do I say, YouTube hate channels, anti-Muslim channels that are trying to rally everybody against having a mosque built there. See, to me, whether a mosque is built there is insignificant. It's what's happening when we pit people against people, and hate against hate. And especially when I'm aware that the whole basis of this is a false flag event perpetrated on the American public in order to get us into a war, uh, and also to take away our freedoms. You know, when we're afraid and they can pump us full of fear, then they can come in and say, well, we need to do this and this and this and this for your security. And so people end up sacrificing their freedom for security. And that's how the dark works. If people are afraid, then they can be controlled and manipulated because they want to feel safe. And the truth of the matter is, we are safe. The truth of the matter is, I create the world I live in, and I perceive the world that I create, and I create that and I perceive it. And so, while all these people are out there playing those games, I see a whole different world. But when I do hear about these things, I see it as it is, and that's people who feel separated from each other, people who are trying to, how shall I say, they just feel separate. There's us and then there's them. That is the problem. As long as there's us and them, then fear has a place to live. And so it's really important that we work at bringing the truth to the table. That there is no us, there is no them. I am a part of you, you're a part of me. What I do to you, I do to me. And the protesting that's going on shows a very distinct misunderstanding of the true events that led to it. And to me, this is just the way of the dark is using to try to keep us, keep keep that whole thing alive. Because see, the last thing they want is us to get to know each other, and to the last thing they want is for there to be, how shall I say, nowhere for fear to flourish, and no way to separate us from each other. So, truth is the victim here. Fear is the enemy. And I don't know how we should go about this. Maybe, maybe we should, maybe I should just start watching some of these protest videos on YouTube and start commenting on them. Um, it really doesn't do much good, I found, because people who are locked into this are so adamantly sure that they know the truth that um, maybe the best thing I could do is just send love and light and stand back and watch the game. In other words, I'm not a part of it. I don't participate in it. I understand it. I see it. But it's not a part of my world. And so I guess for me the answer is that where I am in my world, if I hear people talk about it, that's where I can, I guess, bring truth and light and love to the situation. Anyway, that's all I had to say about that. Namaste.